Welcome to Epilogue Podcast, the show where we discuss some stuff that happened on a different show ages ago which nobody really cares about anymore.
Hi, I'm Portponky.
And I'm LeBloc.
Today we're discussing Farscape, Season 2, Episode 20. Liars, Guns and Money, Part 2. With friends like these. Whilst the crew work on a plan to rescue Jothi, Moya is infested with a dangerous parasite.
That's called a dangling modifier, by the way.
Is it?
Anyway.
Back in the thick of it with Stark and John, coming up with some crazy plans.
That's true. That happened.
Yes. What was your reaction to that thing that happened?
How about all the things? I really like this episode.
It
feels more like a part. Part 1 was very self-contained. This, there are things that are set up and then finish here, but this was more setting up for what's to come. But it works.
There is a lot to like. Good to see some old chums.
This was a great excuse to bring around some cool-looking characters that we've seen before.
Do you remember them all?
I needed the little flashbacks they gave. I wouldn't have remembered the Gauntlet guy if he just showed up without any warning.
That's the oldest one. They're way back from the second episode. No. Fourth? One of the very early season 1 episodes. I mean, it's kind of silly. They've been flying around all over the place, and yet these guys are all still not that far away.
That's the one bit I didn't like. They totally skip over that because they need to. It doesn't make sense. But I like seeing those characters again, so I was ready to excuse it.
The concept of teaming up with a bunch of their previous enemies is more alluring than just having a disappointing discussion about how big space is and how that it's impractical for them to go and find a bunch of people in 2 days.
Yeah. It is super convenient, but at the same time, there were hiccups in the plans in recruiting them, and then their whole means of paying them disappeared, so that it actually made the situation more perilous for them, because now they have these dangerous people on board whom they cannot pay.
They didn't seem to point that out. I mean, I'm sure they'll gloss over that and then it'll all come out in the wash. We even got to see Durka again.
Who's Durka?
The guy that tortured Rigel from the Peacekeepers.
Oh, right.
Who they cast off into space.
And now Rigel's a murderer.
Well, he was probably a murderer before now. But yeah, he killed him. Brutally beheaded him. And rolled the head around as a way to assert dominance. But he's a domino.
That's just how he enters a room.
Hey, it worked.
I'm not arguing with whether it worked. It did. He did take to killing very easily.
The guy did torture him for years. Plus, Rigel's never been that morally inflexible. Whenever there's a serious situation that is solved by murder, he's usually willing to, not only will he suggest that the murder plan is the best, he's usually eager to help.
Not with the murdering part, though.
Yeah, he is. Like, remember when John got duplicated and was the Cave John and the Future John? Rigel was wandering around with a one of those little injector things.
I could see him justifying that in his head as it's not really murder because those copies shouldn't exist. John is John. Anyway.
But he said he would inject any Crichton that he saw, even the original John.
As long as one John remains, he didn't really commit murder. There was only supposed to be John. One John.
I don't know why you think Rigel is some sort of level-headed.
He's a paragon of virtue. No.
I'm sure he would say that about himself. John makes the Tavlek and Tavloid mix-up mistake thing.
I love that came back.
He did it with the weapons dealer, the Plocavians, which he kept calling Plocaboyans. It's like a thing that he does.
He's at his limit. He can't memorize anymore. Maybe they all think he's racist.
But I don't think it would come across that way. He's just like one of these people that calls the Netherlands Holland. That's a bit European.
Yeah.
He's not disparaging them. He just is bad at remembering the many races that he meets.
Wait a minute. Did he start doing that after he got the implant?
No, he did it in the original episode with the Gauntlet guys thrown for a loss.
I thought maybe the implant was messing with his memories. But this episode pointed something out that was obvious, but I didn't really think about it. And that's John can't really trust his own instincts anymore because of the implant. Harvey could be leading him down a path and having him commit to a plan that will sound good to him because it's in his head, but could have been planted there.
That leads to the conclusion of the episode, really. So to skip ahead, did you see that coming?
No, I didn't think John would just go turn himself in. I was annoyed how long it took Aaron and Dargo to figure out why Jothi was there, or how he was able to be there. Because I thought of it immediately. Dargo, I can understand. He's overcome with emotion. He sees Jothi, oh my gosh, I'm going to cry now. But Aaron should have realized immediately.
They were just talking about where Crichton is.
Yeah, that's exactly why.
I love how hopeful Dargo is. How did you escape from Scorpius? Really? It might have been nice to see Dargo overjoyed whilst Aaron is crushed by the realization of what happened.
I thought that's what they were going to do. She was out of focus, and I thought the focus would change, and then you'd see she was crushed because she knew why he was there. They set up the audience to realize it immediately. So the characters should know right away, too.
We're really picky here because Jothi never says, oh, John handed himself in. They don't make it explicit, which is good because Farscape does try to avoid making obvious statements because they try and treat the audience with a degree of respect. And now we get used to it and we're like, oh no, they could have done it better. Not only could they have not outright acknowledged it, they could have just, even the characters could have not acknowledged it. Or acknowledged it without dialogue, I should say. It's fine. I don't want to criticize it. But yes, as soon as Jothi appears, it's really obvious what happened.
This episode did the impossible and finally made me care about the Jothi plotline.
What?
Well, for a bit. When he was in Scorpius's hands. Because that's scary.
It doesn't seem that scary because Jothi is just confused.
Yeah, he doesn't realize what danger he's in.
I love his reaction to seeing Scorpius.
Even I yeah, and knowing that Scorpius killed off 10,000 people, he doesn't seem shaken or disturbed.
Did he know that? He just said you bought 10,000 to find me.
Oh, I thought he said. Maybe I'm misremembering. I thought he said you killed 10,000 to get to me.
Yeah, he would be amazingly chill if he thought like 10,000 people just got murdered to find him.
What's up, dude? You just killed 10,000 people. What's happening?
I liked his reunion with Dargo. That was emotionally charged.
Dargo sells it.
You weren't convinced by the Jothmaster?
No, I was mostly distracted by his nose.
With the gash on it?
Yeah.
That looked a bit stingy. Jothi is a non-character. I mean, we know nothing about him. He's just a guy.
We know that Dargo cares about him. That's it.
Sure. But he's about as useful to the plot as Chiana's brother, in that they have no real relevance other than they are plot elements.
I didn't think about the implications of this reunion. I don't want more Jothi. I want a reason for him to disappear.
Do you want him to die?
No, that'll just make Dargo sad.
Oh. So what then? Boarding school?
Yeah, let's go with that.
Okay.
He'd be gone for the summer. But they have to do something with Dargo now. This was the whole reason he stayed on Moya. I need to find Jothi. And now he's found Jothi. But they can't let him leave. He has to stay in this ragtag group.
He needs to save up for a mortgage. Buy a house somewhere. Save up for boarding school.
I was waiting for that.
Yeah. I wouldn't say Dargo's character is over, but he's certainly in a state of flux. Another character who I think stole the show is Stark.
Oh, I was gonna guess Stark. You love Stark.
Perhaps this episode might show you why, I guess. I think he's generally good whenever he's on screen. He's a very compelling character.
I liked when he was losing his mind. All those people died.
That's an interesting thing, because there's a film called Star Wars that has basically this situation in it.
Right.
And when you're doing sci-fi and you end up with the situation that's in Star Wars, you want to kind of differentiate yourself.
They've done so much setup with him and feeling things. So it didn't, I think with all we've seen, that didn't come off as just, hey, let's rip off Star Wars.
It definitely didn't come off as a Star Wars ripoff.
I bought it as a natural extension of what we've seen from Stark.
It was a good way of having a whole thing about 10,000 slaves, but have them never appear on screen. I thought he really sold the freak out, though. That was a bit messed up. He was freaking out at Scorpius as well. I think he doesn't really like Scorpius very much.
He's not a good guy. No one likes him.
Natira kind of likes him.
Okay, that scene where he's choking her made me laugh a lot.
The sex scene.
As soon as it started, I thought, I can't tell if he's hurting her or if this is a sexual thing or both. I don't know what's going on.
Very much both.
And then, of course, it is both, and it's really funny.
That scene has everything. It's shocking, humorous, disgusting, sexual, I guess. It's got everything.
You ask.
It's a real roller coaster of a scene.
And then earlier we see Scorpius go in for a kiss, and I love that Scorpius initiating a kiss is even scary.
It is quite a lot how I would imagine just Weird, really. Quite weird. What, he was sucking on the little spider leg thing. What was that?
And then his head tube becomes erect.
Oh, yeah. It launches out. The stuff of nightmares.
I want to compliment them for going through with the burning of Moya. I thought Zan would just figure something else out, or something would happen last minute where they wouldn't have to do it. And they committed to it. Moya was injured severely, ended up all charred. They had to reckon with what they did. It was really good stuff. And I thought they would just, let's avoid this so we don't have to bother with making a charred looking set.
It comes across as one of these things. Oh no, we've got 10 minutes, or
Yeah.
we'll lose an arm or something, but you don't expect them to actually do the thing. It feels like a tension building device rather than an actual thing that will happen.
And it's so great when those things happen, because then you feel the stakes more, and there's actual tension.
It adds a lot if they do actually happen sometime. If they never happen, and some shows are deeply guilty of this, then it's never good. The danger has to be real. There has to be a chance.
One thing that was not real was the money. We already knew that at the end of the last episode, but
Yeah.
Here we get to see Rigel be very sad about being poor.
I get a bit jived when Rigel and Shanna sneak in to steal things together.
Why?
Their constant sort of hoarding thing is a bit tiresome, maybe?
It also goes against things that Chiana says. Even in this episode, she tells Dargo, John is your friend. Don't sell him out. But if you care about these people, why are you stealing from them?
Yeah, it's a good way of getting them to poke around and stuff, but I've already lost count of how many times Rigel's stashed food in the wall. Or Rigel and Shanna turn up in the cargo base, snooping around in the stuff that's already their stuff on the ship. It grates a little, but I have seen this whole show numerous times, so your mileage may vary.
I can see why that would be tiring.
It's not that frequent. I think it's mostly Chiana, because it seems like a facet of her personality that should reduce over time. Like, Rigel is he's a permanent kind of guy. He's set in his ways.
I like him looting graves and dead bodies, though. Anyway.
That's, classic Rigel. Probably looted Durka.
Oh, for sure.
Braca wins an award for accidental racism.
What?
Braca,
I don't know what you're talking about.
Scorpius's secretary boy. He was saying, hybrids, geez, keep the bloodlines pure.
Might not want to say that around Scorpius.
Yes, he was accidentally racist to Scorpius's face.
I do like that by circumstance, Scorpius has a progressive attitude in the matter.
Does he?
Yeah, probably not. I bet he likes himself and that's it.
He seems okay with his weird body. He's not a big fan of Scarens. He talked about having his thing put in, his twirly head drill. What are you hoping for in the next part?
A really clever plan from John, and that this isn't simply him. It's not just him turning himself over. He has a plan. I want to see what it is.
He may not have a plan. Like you said, he can't trust himself.
Yeah, it's a really good setup, but I still think he has a plan.
He's got something up his sleeve.
No, he doesn't wear sleeves. He wears that vest thing.
Yeah, it's a figure of speech.
No.
Okay. He's got sleeves in his pocket. And inside there's some cutlery or something. It's usually what people sequester to break out of prison.
I'm going to start a Kickstarter for pocket sleeves.
Just cut them off an existing garment.
Done.
But good luck. I will definitely donate to that Kickstarter. I don't think you need to predict anything particularly from the next episode. I mean, this entire episode was kind of set up. We've got numerous characters brought in, so you know it's going to be fun, I imagine.
Yeah, they'll be out and about, doing stuff. Probably some fireballs.
What if they just negotiate like a diplomatic solution? And all the mercenaries just go home?
I would love it.
Because it would be so unexpected?
Yeah, and I've already seen these characters in action. It's not like I'm itching to see what they're like in battle or what that frog man's fireballs look like or anything. So if they just had a diplomatic session and solved it that way, that would be really funny.
Well,
Or if they find out there's no money and then they all leave and then they have to do the plan by themselves.
That would be so disappointing. Before we go on to the next episode, do you have a quote?
There are vast regions of your brain that are filled with nothing but gibberish.
I'm very glad they didn't use the 10% thing. What I'm talking about is the old adage that humans only use 10% of their brain, which is not true and has never seriously been considered true by anyone. So I'm glad they didn't say that. In fact, the way he phrased it was a lot better. It just makes it sound like John's brain is not very effective.
Yeah, I love that he's frustrated and he's insulting John at the same time.
They think John is so rubbish, but it's funny because he's actually pretty amazing as a human.
Right.
Like, he's physically fit, he's very intelligent, like, in sciences. He's strong and confident and all this sort of stuff. But they all just think he's an idiot.
And it makes me laugh every time. I know it's a well they keep returning to, but it's really funny, and most sci-fi doesn't do this. They don't want to present humans as a lesser species.
It seems sometimes like the whole point of Farscape is to just take humans down a peg, and I don't get tired of it. The genre has been entrenched with these big space operas where humans are the best ever, and I'm glad the show came along and screamed from the top of his lungs, yes, these humans, they're not very good. And it's not just that they say he's not very good. He is genuinely not as, like, physically able as a bunch of the other guys on the show.
Right, it's not a simple trading of insults. Objectively, he is worse.
Dago and Zan are a lot stronger than him, I would think, and Aaron's a lot stronger than him. And Zan can do like 28 different special abilities. Scorpius is a lot smarter than John, I would say, tactically. He really isn't up to scratch on the galactic playfield. But he does his best.
He's good at being a human.
He's kind of a curveball character. Because he's so out of context. It doesn't actually matter that he's not that great because he's unpredictable. Stark's like that as well. Alright, let's wrap it up. We're going to see what happens next time.
Okay.